Show with Edward and Ezekiel Rhymes. Hey, we really got the right pick on Thursday night's game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. That was quite a blowout, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so now we're going to get to the rest of this week's action. We got Sunday afternoon, we have Sunday night, and we have Monday night football. So we're going to give you our picks and our predictions about who will win and who will lose. So what we always tell you when you come to the Eddie Easy Show, we want you to sit back, relax, and most importantly, we want you to check us out. It's the Eddie and Easy Show. I'm Eddie.
I'm Easy.
And what we have here, well, it seems that we made the right call Thursday night matchup between the Hawks and the Packs. Now we're going to try our hand at the rest of the Week 1 games.
This promises to be an exciting week of football, and we're so glad that you decided to tune in to us.
We've got our mic ready, we've cleared our throats, and we've made our picks. So adjust that helmet.
Straighten out those shoulder pads.
And lace up those cleats because we are go. Before we get into the important, game picking, and so forth, we're going to talk a little bit about Ehlers-Danlos or EDS.
Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or EDS, is a group of inherited disorders that affect your connective tissues, primarily your skin, joints, and blood vessel walls. Connective tissue is a complete mixture of proteins and other substances that provide strength and elasticity to the underlying structures in your body.
People who have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome usually have overly flexible joints and stretchy, fragile skin. This can become a problem if you have a wound that requires stitches because the skin often isn't strong enough to hold them. It can cause intense pain, dislocations, and subluxations. That's like minor dislocations of joints. EDS can lead to a whole host of medical issues. Sometimes it can even lead to death. We both have been diagnosed with the disease, and we know how it impacts those who suffer with it. Since very little is known about Ehlers-Danlos, we here on the Eddie and Easy Show have dedicated ourselves to raising awareness about the disease. So let's get to it. Time to get to the picks. Time to get the JOBDONE. So after one game, Eddie, Easy, you and I are tied at 1-0. I wonder if that's going to be any different after, Monday night. So we'll see. So Easy is convinced he's going to be on top. I kind of know I'm going to be on top. So we'll see. We'll see.
I think I'm going to win today.
All right. So here we go. So we come down to the 1 o'clock games here, and we have the New Orleans Saints versus Atlanta. It is in Atlanta. It's in the Georgia Dome. I know who I picked for this game, but Easy, I'm going to go with you first. Who did you pick?
I'm picking NO.
You're going to pick New Orleans over Atlanta. Why did you pick New Orleans over Atlanta? I know why I did, but why did you?
I think that with the offense of New Orleans, I think that it's just going to be too much for Atlanta's defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that with their secondary, that it's not going to be very good for them. And they already lost Thomas Deku, their main safety.
Mm-hmm. And
without him, there's not much to come up against with New Orleans offense. You got Jimmy Graham, you got Marcus Colston, and you got Kenny Stills, which is more of like a slot wide receiver. And now...
Yeah, Brandon Cook.
Yeah, you got Brandon Cook. And you got these two running backs, Pierre Thomas and Mark Ingram, where you can do like a swing route.
Yeah.
But with Drew Brees and his offensive line, they're not going to touch him.
Mm-hmm. I agree with your assessment when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. On the Atlanta side of the ball, I just have, one phrase: not enough. They didn't do enough to shore up their defensive line. I don't think they did enough to shore up that suspect pass defense. I'm not, overly convinced that that their running game is going to be any better than it was last year. I think at times Steven Jackson looked, quite pedestrian. So I just think that with Atlanta, they didn't do enough to catch up with their, NFC South opponent. So just not enough. Okay. So now we go to Cincinnati versus Baltimore. I think I'll let you go first again. Cincinnati versus Baltimore. This really surprised me when you said this. Go ahead.
As much as it hurts me to say this, but I'm picking Cincinnati. I think that Cincinnati is going to get a comeback. I don't think that Baltimore has enough offensive firepower. They already lost Anquan Bolden. They got Torrey Smith. That's a good number one wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Good number one wide receiver, but he was better as a number two. Mm-hmm. But you also got Jacoby Jones. He's not that best of a wide receiver. He's a good slot receiver, and he's a good returner, but we're not going to talk about Ray Rice. This is like a hush hush. And I think that they lost too many people on the defensive side. Even though they got Haloti Ngata and they got Terrell Suggs, I think that this defense is going to stabilize. And it's never going to be as good with Ray Lewis.
As it was with Ray Lewis, yeah.
Yeah, I think...
And Ed Reed.
I think right now it's just going to stabilize.
Okay. Well, I picked Cincinnati as well. I picked Cincinnati because of the two, I have more faith in their offense than I do in the offense of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, when I look at this, this could be, Baltimore could very easily win this game because Cincinnati, in my opinion, seems to always find ways to lose games for the most part. But I have more faith in Cincinnati's defense. I do think that the Ravens have done a wonderful job of restocking at linebacker. I think that, with Upshaw, and then they got another, inside linebacker. Is it from Mosley? Is he from?
Mosley,
from Alabama. So they're getting, they're picking, Lou Saban's boys, Nick Saban's boys, and so I still give the edge to Cincinnati. I like AJ Green. I like Whit Gresham. Andy Dalton is good enough to get them this win. So I'm picking Cincinnati over Baltimore in this game. And so now we come to Buffalo versus Chicago. All right, so this wasn't, a hard pick for me to make. I really think that the Chicago Bears will win this game.
At least we're happy your team's going to win.
We're at home. The Bears are at home playing against the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have some question marks at quarterback. E.J. Manuel did not look like he had his stuff this preseason. So they even, paid Kyle Orton, gave him a multi-million-dollar contract to back up, E.J. Manuel. So the quarterback situation is up in the air. Their running back situation is as solid as ever. You got Fred Jackson, and you have C.J. Spiller. I think that's a, potent 1-2 punch. Sammy Watkins is a great playmaker in the the Julio Jones mode in Atlanta. He has that same type of game-breaking ability, that size. But a receiver is only as good as the guy who's throwing him the ball. And so E.J. Manuel doesn't look that great. So when I go to the defensive side of the ball, Buffalo is pretty solid. They were number 2 in sacks last year with 57 sacks. 46 of those sacks were, gotten by their defensive line. So that defensive line can really get after the quarterback. It's a good thing that Chicago stabilized their offensive line because they would have a major headache if they had to go up against it. It's still going to be a tough job. Mario Williams, Kyle, Williams. And so you got these guys. Marcel Darius. So, these guys are tough. I mean, but they've lost Jarius Byrd on the back end. So I think that Chicago, if they can hold that defensive line of Buffalo, they can get some shots downfield with, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, now Santonio Holmes, Martellus Bennett. I mean, this is a packed and potent offense. And, let's not forget Matt Forte. So most people do forget Matt Forte. I don't. So I think Chicago wins this game handily at home against the Buffalo Bills. Who did you pick?
I picked Chicago, and you've covered so much that I really don't have much to say.
That's kind of how I felt like when you were doing the Saints. So, yeah, you covered a lot with the Saints. So, yeah. All right, so let's get to the next game. Washington versus Houston. The game is in Houston. You go first with this. Who did you pick?
I picked Houston.
All right.
And I think that Houston, with its now revamped, even more revamped defense, you got Jadeveon Clowney and you got J.J. Watt coming.
Mm-hmm.
And right now with Washington, I see too many problems with them. I do not see a lot of grounded stuff with them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they got Pierre Garçon, they got Santana Moss. I still don't.
Deshaun Jackson. Let's not forget that was the pick of the off season for them. Deshaun Jackson.
I forgot. I'm sorry. Deshaun Jackson also. I think that's going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
But with RG3, I think he's just too unpredictable right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I went in the other direction. I'm picking Washington to win this game. The reason why I picked Washington is because of one primary reason. I agree with you. RG3 doesn't look like, a world beater. He didn't look like a world beater in preseason. But I don't think, this is still a quarterback-driven league. We still don't know what we're getting in Derek Carr. I mean, excuse me. We still don't know what they're getting, with Casey Keenum or Ryan Mallett. I think they traded for Ryan Mallett.
Yeah, they did.
And so I think, thanks for the correction on, Shaw. Yeah. I just don't think their quarterback situation is as settled as it should be going into the season. Arian Foster seems to be getting more and more injury prone. That defensive line, don't get me wrong, you got Jadeveon Clowney on one side, you got J.J. Watt on the other. I mean, it's a solid defense. That linebacking core led by, who am I trying to think? Was it Connor Barwin?
Yeah.
And then you have, why can't I remember the guy's name from USC? I can't remember his name to save my life right now. But at any rate, their linebacking crew is solid.
Brian Cushing.
Yeah, Brian Cushing, thank you. Their linebacking unit is solid. And so I'm looking at, this team, and they just don't, in my opinion, there are too many question marks on the offensive side of the ball. I think Washington has less question marks on their side of the ball. RG3, although he did not play well last year and he has not played well in the preseason, he has proven that he can play. His rookie season, he has proven that he can play. Alfred Morris, I mean, give me Alfred Morris all day. Bam, bam, bam. You're pounding the ball with him. So that's how you slow down the pass rush, is to have a good running attack, and Washington has that. So I give the edge to Washington. Not a big edge, but a slight edge. Don't get me wrong, it wouldn't surprise me if Houston actually won the game, but I think that that Washington will pull it out. All right, so now we come to the next game, the Tennessee Titans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll go with my pick first. I picked KC for obvious reasons. Tennessee, even, bringing in Ken Wisenhunt as their head coach. He's a great offensive mind. I've watched him closely when he was with Pittsburgh, when he helped Ben Roethlisberger come into his own. But I'm looking at the Tennessee Titans. They don't have Chris Johnson. They do have Sean Green. Sean Green, he's too up and down for me. Don't be lukewarm as a running back. Either be hot or cold. So I don't get a big thrill from looking at Sean Green. Jake Locker, still hasn't proven that he can take this team over the top. I think this is his make or break year. If Jake Locker doesn't prove to be their quarterback this year, they either going to pick up a big free agent, or they're going to go into the draft to pick a guy that's going to take them over the top. I just see Kansas City, just has too much firepower. Jamal Charles, Dwayne Bowe, Alex Smith is serviceable. I think he can get the job done. Their defense with Tamba Hali,
Johnson.
Yeah. So I just give the edge to KC, and they're at home too. So I think that KC wins this game. Who do you pick?
You did it again, KC. You covered so much.
Well, next time I'll let you cover a whole lot.
Thank you. like you said, defensive wise, with Taba Holly, Derek Johnson, I forget the other defensive end. But he was an all-star, Pro Bowler last year.
Right.
And I think that with Jamal Charles, even when you don't have, Jamal Charles, you still have to go to the passing game. But you got Dwayne Bowe, and you got Dexter McCluster. And I think that it's just starting to get. I think that they're going to get overwhelmed.
Yeah, just too much firepower on the Kansas City side of the ball, and on both sides of the ball. I think the defensive end that we were looking for. I can't remember the guy's name either. So now we go to the next. So we both pick KC. So now we come to the next, part of the lineup. It's New England versus the Miami Dolphins in Miami. And we both picked New England Patriots. Why did you pick the New England Patriots?
Well, I think that you got Rob Gronkowski. He's starting to get healthy now. And right now, you got Tom Brady. He's still doing great. Even though he's starting to make some mistakes, but he's still going out strong. Even though Stephen Ridley's fumbling problems, he's still he's still their main back.
Right.
And they got a pretty good defense also. They got Chandler Jones. They got Dante Hightower. They got
Vince
Wilfork. He's back from an Achilles injury. And their secondary, McCourty. Right now with Miami. Oh, and they also picked up Darrelle Revis.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. Yeah.
And right now, even with the whole with the Incognito Jonathan Martin thing, even though that was a year ago, it still scarred them.
Yeah.
And right now, all aside from that, I really do not see that much from the Dolphins. I mean, with their wide receiver, Brian Hartline, he was their main receiver, but still, I don't see, any surprise me potential.
Yeah, the ceiling is pretty low for these guys.
And Mike Wallace, I think he's just too unpredictable. Ryan Tannehill, he's good, but he doesn't really have an offense to work with.
Right.
And their defense,
it was solid last year. It wasn't,
like the best,
spectacular, but it was solid.
I mean, even if it was solid, you still need all this stuff, and even to compensate for the offense, you still need a great defense to compensate for this offense.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they have that.
Okay. So I picked New England as well. Too many question marks on the Miami side of the ball. The biggest question mark is, have they fixed their offensive line? Because that was the problem last season. You talk about Richie Incognito, Jonathan Martin. They were both on the offensive line. So I mean, off-field issues aside, this line has too many question marks. And Ryan Tannehill, although he has flashed some ability, he still hasn't convinced me, that he is the answer at quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. So once again, quarterback-driven league, and your offensive line protects the quarterback. And so I just haven't seen, they picked up Noshawn Marino in the backfield. He didn't show much in the preseason. I like Noshawn Marino. He was wonderful with the Denver Broncos last year, but this is a whole different offense. He doesn't have Peyton Manning's arm and the passing attack to open up these lanes for him. So I'm giving a nod to New England. Thanks for your vast knowledge on the subject. All right, so now we come to Oakland and New York and the New York Jets. I picked the Jets over Oakland. Number one, Oakland hasn't proven to be a very good road team. I'm just not convinced that they, have the maturity and the talent to really give somebody a run for their money at home or on the road, rather. So the New York Jets, although their quarterback situation is just as unsettled as the Oakland Raiders is. You brought in Matt Schaub, gave him all this money, and a la Russell Wilson, they said, okay, Derek Carr, you're going to start. so Derek Carr clearly outplayed Matt Schaub in the preseason, but that was the preseason. He didn't have to make too many reads against, NFL defenses that are complex, because in the offseason, defenses don't show you everything that they're going to do. Their defenses are pretty vanilla. So he's going to have to go up against teams that are scheming against him, that are game planning against him, and I don't know if he, has that ability to read defenses, the type of defenses he's going to see in the regular season as opposed to preseason. They brought in a lot of veterans on defense. Justin Tuck was one of them. They lost Lamar Houston to Chicago. I just don't see Oakland having turned around their fortunes enough to beat the New York Jets. Yes, the New York Jets have their, quarterback issues. Geno Smith, to me, still isn't anything to write home about. But it's in New York. It's at the Jets, so I give the Jets the nod, just based purely upon practically home field advantage. Who did you pick?
I picked Oakland, and the reason why I say this is, they got Daenerys Moore. I think he's a playmaker, and I think that from what I've seen, you may disagree with this, but from what I've seen, he looked more consistent, and I think that
no, I like Daenerys Moore. I think he's good. I think I agree. Yeah. He's a playmaker. Yeah. But what is the rule? You're only as good as the guy throwing you the ball. Mm-hmm. So we don't know who the guy is throwing the ball yet.
Yeah. Same thing with New York, but I think that with their new revamped defense, they picked up Lamar Woodley. They picked up Justin Tuck. I think even though Justin Tuck has not proven himself lately, I think that's still enough for the defense. And also with Lamar Woodley, even though he's injured, it's still a very good addition. And I think that they have enough to... from what I see from the Oakland Raiders, I think they have a huge amount of potential. With the New York Jets, I don't see that much, and I think that this year might be the year for the Oakland Raiders.
Okay. New York Jets still one of the best defenses in the NFL, going up against a rookie quarterback. I will give Rex Ryan the advantage every single time when it comes to that. You're right. We don't agree on that. But that's what makes this fun. We don't. Okay. We've agreed on a lot of these games. So now we go to Jacksonville versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay.
Yeah.
Eagles.
Yeah.
Okay. Eagles.
Let's move on to
Eagles.
Let's move on to Pittsburgh.
All right, moving on to Cleveland versus Pittsburgh.
Do you know what?
I know there are people thinking, you're not even going to talk about them?
Yeah.
You're not even going to talk about Jacksonville versus Philadelphia?
At least they got
in Philly? No, I'm not going to talk about it.
At least they got their jerseys look cool.
Okay, now we go to the next game. Cleveland versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. I picked the Steelers. It's in Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers lost some guys, but I think they got some guys, back. Bell and Blunt, the marijuana possession issue aside, I think can prove a potent 1-2 punch. No pun intended. I think that Ben Roethlisberger is still a quality quarterback. I still have him, in my opinion, in the top 10 of quarterbacks in NFL. Even after all these years, he's still as elusive as ever. He can still get out of that pocket and make plays. I think with Antonio Brown and did Emmanuel Sanders Bolt, is he still with the no, he's with the Broncos now. But they picked up they have Marcus Wheaton, and I think he's going to show them a thing or two. They still have, Heath Miller, that wonderful tight end, that old grizzled tight end who's still making plays even after all these years. So, and I still think you give Dick LeBeau a defense. he can still, even though that defense last year looked like a shadow of his former self, I still think he can get the job done. I think that on the Cleveland side of the ball, you lost Josh Gordon. That was the franchise. He's out for the season. That's Josh Gordon was the Cleveland Browns franchise. He is not playing this year. You got to figure out who you're going to get the ball to. Running back doesn't, give me any goosebumps. Brian Hoyer, although he did a very good job last year before he got injured, just doesn't give me that much. I just don't get any goosebumps from him either. So the Cleveland Browns defense is still a pretty good defense. I like their defense. But I think Pittsburgh wins this. I think Dick LeBeau has Cleveland's number for the most part. And I think they get the job done in Pittsburgh on Sunday. What do you think?
I pick Pittsburgh. I think that with Antonio Brown, Heath Miller, and Ben Roethlisberger to throw to, I think that it's still and you got even though they lost Jericho Cotchery, I still think there's a great offense for them. And they still have a stellar defense.
Yeah. Okay. So now we come to the home team, Minnesota versus the St. Louis Rams. Now, I'm going to let you take the first crack. I'm going to give you your first bite at the apple on this one. Who do you pick?
I pick St. Louis, and the reason is what?
No, I mean, I don't think you need any big reasons to pick St. Louis over Minnesota in St. Louis, but go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm just going to throw out some names. Tavon Austin.
All right.
Sam Bradford. That's it. Even though that with the Minnesota Vikings.
Did you say Sam Bradford?
Yeah.
He's out for the season.
Oh.
He went down. Yeah. So
Chris Long. Chris Long. Robert Quinn.
Go ahead.
Mike Jenkins.
Okay.
Enough said.
All right. No, it's just funny to me. The first Sam Bradford table. That's it. Well, one of the guys is out for the season. Okay. Hey, look. Let's not pretend. I'm going with St. Louis. St. Louis last year proved they can win with a backup quarterback. They proved they can win games with a backup quarterback. That defensive line is as good as any defensive line in the NFL. I mean, I look at their defensive line; it's probably the best in the NFL. The St. Louis Rams. Then they picked up Aaron McDonald from Pitt.
From Cisco.
No, from Pitt.
Oh.
Not Aaron McDonald, but
Ray McDonald.
No, it's not Ray McDonald.
Aaron McDonald.
Yes, Aaron McDonald. You're thinking of Ray McDonald. I had it right. So they picked up Aaron McDonald from Pitt. Great defensive tackle. I think that Jeff Fisher just reloaded. I mean, he just started stocking, that defense with some quality players. They have enough on offense to win, and they have a stellar defense. That defensive backfield, however, is still a little bit suspect, but I think that's more than enough to overcome Minnesota, who still has question marks at quarterback. Look, you got 2 first-round draft picks on your roster, Christian Ponder, and you have Teddy Bridgewater. But you're going with Matt Castle. So that tells me you have question marks at quarterback. Once again, I can't say this enough. Quarterback-driven league. You don't have a quarterback. It hampers your chances to go far in the season and definitely to even get into the postseason. So, yeah, Minnesota's done some things. They got a new coach, Mike Zimmer, defensive genius from the Cincinnati Bengals. I think you might see the defense improve somewhat this year. They don't have Jared Allen. It'd be weird to see him in a Bears uniform on Sunday. But I give the nod to St. Louis. I really do. All right, so now we come to the next game, the next batch of games, and we have San Francisco versus Dallas. I'm picking San Francisco, of course. Too much defense, Too much offense. I look at San Francisco's offense. Frank Gore is still churning it out. You still have Kendall Hunter. I don't know. I think maybe I thought I heard some reports about him being injured. I don't know. Sorry about not doing due diligence on the research when it comes to that. But at any rate, you got Crabtree, you got Bolden, you got Vernon Davis. They have a pretty good, and Colin Kaepernick back there ain't bad either. So, pretty good offense, okay? Now we come to defense, and it's solid. It's solid. Although they will be without Aldon Smith for the first 9 games of the season. Last year they had to go that route too, and they proved that they could still get after you without Aldon Smith in the game. So San Francisco can still bring it even without Aldon Smith. So, I give the edge to San Francisco. Dallas, Dallas to me is what the Minnesota Vikings, in my opinion, used to be. A team who has a lot of talent and a lot of potential, who never seems to fulfill that potential. So they never seem to really live up to the talent that they have. So Dallas is in that category to me. I don't want to get into a long discussion about Dallas. But I'll let you if you want to. Who did you pick?
San Francisco.
San Francisco, of course.
Do you know what I immediately think of with Dallas? A reality TV show.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Keeping Up with the Cowboys.
Yeah, it is. It is one reality TV show segment after another. I agree. That's a perfect way of putting it. All right, so now we come to Carolina versus Tampa Bay. Give your first bite of the apple here.
I get Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Even with their terrible uniforms.
Oh, yes, it looks like an alarm clock. Somebody hit snooze. Go ahead.
And I think that with their defense, it was really, really revamped.
Mm-hmm.
They got Deshaun Goldston.
Yeah.
They got some new players to deal with.
Right.
They still got Adrian Claiborne.
Uh-huh.
I think he's one of the most underrated defensive players in the league.
Yeah, he might be.
And they got Wright or something. Yeah. Number 54. As a linebacker, he was really, really good last year.
Right.
And now, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got Mike Adams.
Mm-hmm.
And they got Vincent Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And they got Doug Martin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good running back.
Yeah.
And only thing that stopped him last year was injuries. He got injured.
And I think, him right there. Nobody can see it because it's on my computer. But still, I think with Mike Evans, receiver.
Yeah.
Mike Glennon, even though he seemed a little bit riled,
mm-hmm.
I think right now he'll have, and also
who seemed rattled?
Mike Glennon.
He's not the starter.
Not.
Josh McCown is. Josh McCown is. Yeah, but your points are valid when it comes to...
And they picked up Logan Mankins also.
Yeah, but one guy on the offensive line doesn't get you to where you want to be. I picked the Panthers. Now, Cam Newton may not be playing.
Mm-hmm.
He may miss his first NFL game, and I hope he doesn't because I actually like watching Cam play. He's fun to watch.
They lost almost all of their wide receivers.
Yeah, well, yeah, the question is who's he going to go through? He got Calvin Benjamin, mm-hmm. from Florida State, and he's gotten rave reviews this offseason and this preseason. So, I think that Carolina is good enough to survive the loss of Cam Newton. I think Lovie Smith being at Tampa Bay, where he basically got it, that whole cover 2 thing started, with the Rams and with the Buccaneers, and so that's where he is a ardent devotee to the cover 2 scheme. They got the perfect defensive tackle at the 3 technique, Gerald McCoy, who can make that defense go. I think you'll see an improvement with Tampa Bay on defense. I still look at Tampa Bay's offense, and their offensive line is horrible. I don't know what it is with Florida teams. Miami, Tampa Bay, offensive lines are horrible. So I look at this game, and Josh McCown, believe me, I loved him last year. Oh, he was wonderful backing up Jay Cutler and coming in and playing ball. I mean, he played lights out last year, and that's why he's a starting quarterback for the Buccaneers this year. But I also think that he was a product of Mark Trestman's system. He's not in that system now. He hasn't looked great this offseason. Yeah, he has Vincent Jackson. Yes, he has Mike Evans. You know, those big wide receivers that kind of remind you of Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall in Chicago. But outside of that, he doesn't have a whole lot, and he doesn't have a line that protects him. So Logan Mankins, you know, hey, I think that was a good pickup. He's a great guard, but that's one player. I don't see it getting better just because Logan Mankins, he can't block all the defensive linemen. They're going to be coming at Josh McCown. So I give the nod to the Panthers on this. All right, so now we come to the next game. Indiana versus Denver. Who do you pick?
Indianapolis. Denver. Right now, even though they lost Eric Decker, even though they picked up Emmanuel Sanders, but even though they lost Wes Welker
for the first 4 games, PED.
Yep. And I think even with those losses,
for those who don't know, performance enhancing drugs. Yeah.
Even for those losses, I still think that with Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, and Emmanuel Sanders, I still think that it's legit.
Peyton Manning, yes.
Peyton Manning. I mean, I have 2 stats for you. 5,477 yards last year. 55 touchdowns.
Yep. And he had 4 guys that had at least 10 touchdowns.
Yep.
Yeah, that wasn't like regular football. That was Madden, you know.
And they got it done in the running game with Sean Marino.
He really stepped it up. But even now they get Monte Ball in full time.
Even though that Monte Ball, he's good, but he's not the greatest. I still think that
I think he's an improvement over Sean Marino. To be quite, I do. I think that after seeing O'Shawn in Miami, I really think they did the right thing by saying we're going to give Monte the ball more. He averaged 4.7 Monte ball more. Yeah. I get it. So he averaged 4.7 yards per carry. Sean Marino 4.3. I think that's going to be the difference. I think that Monte Ball has more breakaway speed. And I think that when you don't have a Wes Welker in the slot, you're going to have to compensate in some sort of way. And if the defenses have to focus on the running game more and have to concentrate on this guy breaking away more, then that's, the direction. We both picked Denver. I like Indianapolis. They don't have Robert Mathis because he's out, I think, the first 4 games because of PED, performance-enhancing drugs. So he's been suspended for the first 4 games. So they don't have Robert Mathis, who was a terror last year. He really upped his game last season. Andrew Luck is still in there. Trent Richardson hasn't shown a whole lot. He hasn't justified the price they paid to get him there in Indianapolis yet. Donald Brown has done more. And I mean, when it comes down to Donald Brown outplaying, Trent Richardson, you have a problem at running back. So I give the edge, and you give the edge, and you give the game, and I give the game to Denver. So let's go on to the next set of games, next couple of games. So the Monday night matchup, you pick Detroit. Why?
You're welcome, Uncle Kenny. I think that with Matt Stafford, Reggie Bush, Calvin Johnson, I think that right now with the Giants, they lost Justin Tuck. They lost Osi Umenyiora.
Right.
They are crippled in the defensive line right now. They don't. They have a stellar secondary. But
they're pretty good secondary.
But it's still overwhelming, especially when you have Calvin Johnson.
Right.
I mean, he was just amazing last year. And with Matt Stafford, he's a good quarterback, really good.
Yeah, he's proven it. Yeah,
and
he can be good. Yeah,
when you have a good quarterback and a great wide receiver, things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And they have a really, really good defense. Also with especially
I don't know about this. Yeah, the front seven. I'll give you that. The back end though.
Yeah, it's not that good.
Yeah, that was Detroit's problem. The secondary. Yeah, that was Detroit's problem last year. The secondary.
The front seven was really, really good.
Yeah, they got after people.
Enough said.
Well, I give the edge to Detroit as well. I think that offense, I think the team generally, I think Detroit will be more disciplined this year. I always thought that Detroit had discipline problems, and it started at the top with their head coach, Jim Schwartz, who was pretty much a hothead himself. And if you are a hothead as a head coach, guess what? You're going to have a team full of hotheads because they look at what you're doing and think that's the way it's supposed to be. A team will inevitably take on the personality of its coach. And so with Caldwell now in there, calming influence, a steady guy, I think you'll see them. I think they'll get less penalties this year because they're one of the most penalized teams in the league last year. I think they'll be more settled on the offensive side of the ball. They picked up Golden Tate from Seattle, and I think here's how I see it: Calvin Johnson, in all his years of playing in Detroit, in my opinion, hasn't had a complimentary receiver of the caliber of a Golden Tate. So I think that Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate gets more balls thrown in his direction. You can't double team them both. I think that's going to be a potent 1-2 punch. I think that Detroit wins this game. As much as it pains me to say it, Stone, I think that Detroit wins this game. And I think that they'll win it big in Detroit on Monday night. So now we come to the last game, San Diego versus Arizona. I picked the Arizona Cardinals for all of their issues when it comes to, in my opinion, Carson Palmer hasn't proven to be the answer, but he has proven to me to be good enough to help them win some games. I think Carson Palmer can be the difference in some of these games. So when I look at the Cardinals, I see Larry Fitzgerald, I see Andre Ellington, I see Michael Floyd. I see a decent defense. They have lost Darnell Dockett for the season. That's going to be a big blow. He's gone down. He's out for the season.
I think he's also one of the most underrated.
Yeah, I think because when we talk about defensive nobody, as far as I can see, not many people talk about Darnell Dockett, but he is a great defensive tackle, and they're going to miss him in the middle of that line. I think I think John Abraham, proven he still got something left in the tank last season. I watched him last season, and he's proven he still has something left in the tank. Bruce Arians, who I love as an offensive-minded coach, I think he gets them ready for this game. I see Arizona beating San Diego, but San Diego, don't get me wrong, they've got some talent on their side of the ball too. And this is one of those games where I'm picking Arizona, but it wouldn't surprise me if San Diego won. Who did you pick?
I picked Arizona as well.
All right.
I think that with Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd,
mm-hmm.
even though Carson Palmer, he's an all right quarterback, I think with those two players, he's going to be really good in the season. And I think Darryl Washington, he's a great linebacker. They got Calais Campbell. They got John Abraham, as you said.
Right.
And I think that front seven is really going to anchor the defense.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they still got Patrick Peterson back there in the secondary, so I mean,
And Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, he's back. The Honey Badge is back. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I like him. All right, so now we come to the segment of the program that I like a whole lot. Let me talk to you. And so I'll be going first this week. I'm talking to Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler, how you doing? I know that you are a brand new papa now. You got a new baby in the crew now. So you're a father too. You're married. You're settled now. You got that big, nice contract. $126 million, I believe. I would ask you to loan me some money, but we don't know each other that well. So at any rate, Jay Cutler. People have been talking about you and talking against you since you came to Chicago Bears. They said your body language is wrong. They say you're not a leader. They say you don't act like you care. They say you don't have what it takes to put the Bears over the top. They say these things over and over again, Jay. But Jay, you are in the Mark Trestman offense for the second year in a row now. You're showing a mastery of that offense that you haven't seen even when you were in Denver with Mike Shanahan. So listen, Jay, go out there and prove the critics wrong. You got the weapons to do it. You got Alshon Jeffrey. You have Brandon Marshall. You have Martellus Bennett. You have Santonio Holmes. And oh, by the way, you got Matt Forte, the most underrated great running back in the NFL today, in the backfield. So Jay Cutler, here's the thing. You got to go out there and put it all together now. Quarterback-driven league. That means it's on your shoulders, big guy. I believe you can do it if you can stay healthy. And so, Jay, I expect to see 4,500 yards from you this year. I expect to see about 40 touchdowns. I think this is the year for you to do it. But you got to prove it. I'm done talking, Jay. Good luck on Sunday.
Now I shall talk to Matt Elam. I really think that you need to back up Ed Reed, especially last year. You proved it against Detroit when you said that Calvin Johnson was old. That was poetic justice. And I think that you can back up Ed Reed. I think that you can prove to the Ravens defense that you are the starting safety.
They done talking?
Yep.
All right. Look at that beautiful gift. All right, this is the Eddie and Easy Show.
It was fun.
Yeah, So we're going to tell you a little bit more. To learn more about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, visit these pages that you see up on the screen. It is something that's near and dear to our hearts. We've been affected by it, and we've taken it upon ourselves to get the word out. So visit those sites if you want to learn more about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. EDS. And this has been the Eddie and Easy Show. I'm Eddie.
I'm Easy.
And we say goodbye.